The bloodline did not just break. It was completely erased from the history of Southern hip-hop. For over 20 years, the world watched the volatile, toxic, and explosive relationship between Clifford T.I. Harris and his son, King Harris, assuming it was nothing more than typical generational friction under the heavy weight of a rap legacy. But less than 24 hours after an absolute public meltdown at the 2026 BET Awards, the ultimate deception has officially hit the internet. A highly classified, certified DNA paternity report from an elite Atlanta genetic registry has officially leaked to the dark web, dropping a nuclear bomb on the Grand Hustle dynasty with a single, bone-chilling revelation. King Harris is allegedly not T.I.'s biological son. The internet has instantly entered a state of unyielding, absolute madness as every single past street fight, public screaming match, and family feud between the two suddenly takes on a dark, entirely new meaning. This is no longer a standard family dispute. This is a multi-million-dollar ancestral execution involving broken street codes, hidden matrix alliances, and a legacy built entirely on a lie. Don't blink. Don't look away. Because the explosive medical evidence we are about to break down will permanently alter everything you know about hip-hop's most chaotic father and son dynamic. To truly comprehend the sheer magnitude of why this leaked DNA report has completely paralyzed the music industry, we have to look back at the long, public history of torment and friction that has defined the relationship between T.I. and King Harris. For years, pop culture consumers looked at King Harris as the quintessential problem child of hip-hop royalty. He was the kid who grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth inside a multi-million-dollar Buckhead mansion, yet continuously went live on social media claiming he was raised in the trenches and stood on his own independent street business. The world laughed when he got into a furious screaming match with fast food employees at a Waffle House over a wrong order. The culture was completely stunned when he broadcasted a physical altercation with his parents inside a luxury suite at an Atlanta Falcons football game, yelling directly into his camera lens that his grandmother raised him and that he didn't owe respect to anyone under that roof. Every single time King Harris acted out, the public placed the blame entirely on bad parenting, unchecked entitlement, or a desperate desire to achieve street credibility. T.I. would routinely go on morning radio shows or publish lengthy, highly articulate paragraphs on the internet trying to explain away his son's reckless behavior, framing it as the growing pains of a young man trying to find his identity in the massive shadow of the King of the South. He claimed he spent years trying to pull his son back from the ledge of self-destruction, acting as a patient, guiding father. But behind the closed doors of their massive family compound, the psychological reality was infinitely more sinister. The friction between them wasn't just a simple clash of personalities or typical teenage rebellion. It was the subconscious, unyielding rejection of a biological mismatch that both men felt deep in their bones, but could never openly voice to the world until now. The background tension reached an absolute tipping point during the recent, disastrous rollout of T.I.'s final retirement album, Kill the King. As the project faced an unprecedented corporate radio blacklist and their shared family assets were completely frozen due to Tiny's sudden, unexpected divorce filing, the entire household became a highly volatile pressure cooker. Tiny's legal team had already dropped cryptic hints in her initial divorce clauses about deep-seated, hidden deceptions regarding the true paternity and legacy rights of the children within the household. Rumors began circulating through the highest echelons of the Atlanta music underground that T.I. had quietly ordered an independent, private investigation into his family's medical and genetic history to secure financial leverage and protect his remaining wealth in the divorce proceedings. King Harris was already operating on pure adrenaline, feeling entirely isolated by his father's crumbling empire and his mother's sudden corporate realignment with major label executives in Los Angeles. He began showing up to local studio sessions surrounded by an independent, heavily armed street entourage, completely cutting off communication with Grand Hustle management and defying his father's direct orders. The internal family group chats had already broken down into a vicious war zone of mutual accusations, hidden financial threats, and warnings of total exposure. The public had absolutely no idea that the young artist who was constantly being ridiculed on internet blogs was actually sitting on a ticking emotional time bomb. The entire Harris family legacy was balanced precariously on the absolute edge of a cliff, waiting for one singular, highly visible public event to push it into absolute, irreversible ruin. That event was the star-studded night of the awards, an evening meant to celebrate cultural excellence that instead transformed into the public execution of a hip-hop bloodline. The literal explosion occurred at exactly 10:30 a.m. on a frantic Thursday morning inside the high-security family law division of the Fulton County Courthouse. The atmosphere inside the legal building was completely sterile, a stark contrast to the absolute chaos that was about to be unleashed across the global internet. Legal representatives representing Tamika Harris marched through the heavy wooden doors of the clerk's office, carrying a massive stack of legal documents that would permanently alter the landscape of hip-hop history. The heavy metal stamping machine echoed through the quiet corridor as the paperwork was officially processed, marking the definitive beginning of the end for the Grand Hustle empire. Within 45 minutes of that single stamp hitting the paper, a highly classified digital copy of the initial 140-page filing was leaked directly to a high-level entertainment law blog. The internet did not just react. It completely froze in a state of collective shock as the raw, ugly details of the conflict were exposed to the public. The initial narrative floating across social media assumed that Tiny had simply reached her absolute emotional breaking point due to the intense public embarrassment of T.I.'s recent live radio station ambush. The public believed she was merely fleeing the fallout of a media blackout and a chaotic album rollout. But as cyber investigators, financial analysts, and legal experts began meticulously reading through the dense, heavy text of Section 4 under the Comprehensive Financial Disclosure Clause, the first massive, jaw-dropping twist of this entire saga was officially revealed to the world. Tiny is not just filing for divorce because of public humiliation or street drama. She is filing because T.I. secretly, systematically, and completely drained their shared marital assets and her personal business capital to fund an underground legal shield without her knowledge or consent. The leaked court documents detail a terrifying, multi-layered financial betrayal that left the entire industry completely paralyzed. In a desperate, high-stakes bid to remain entirely independent from major record labels and combat the massive corporate blacklist targeting his final retirement project, T.I. had quietly established a complex network of hidden shell corporations. When the federal government began actively monitoring and freezing his primary lines of credit following the chaotic radio studio incident, his independent machine ran completely out of operational liquidity. To keep his legal defense functioning and pay millions of dollars to elite retainer attorneys across the country, T.I. allegedly forged secondary signatures on high-value corporate accounts. The legal filings claim he single-handedly liquidated over 42% of their shared life retirement funds and secretly leveraged Tiny's independent beauty, fashion, and cosmetics brand assets as collateral to secure high-interest street loans from anonymous capital groups. The sheer level of heartbreak written into the text of the legal filing is absolutely devastating. Tiny's elite legal team explicitly states that the defendant has engaged in consistent, unauthorized dissipation of marital property, utilizing the plaintiff's independent life work as a personal financial shield to fight corporate and legal battles that he single-handedly provoked. The document goes on to declare that the plaintiff's personal financial security and independent business empire have been placed in immediate, catastrophic jeopardy due to these reckless actions. The revelation completely shattered the image of the unified power couple standing against the industry matrix, proving that the betrayal came from inside the royal castle itself. According to terrified internal staff members who witnessed the immediate aftermath at the family's multi-million-dollar luxury estate in Buckhead, the real-world confrontation was completely cinematic and deeply painful. The minute T.I. received the emergency digital notification from his business managers detailing the courthouse filing, the entire multi-acre property transformed into an absolute pressure cooker. T.I. reportedly intercepted Tiny in the grand marble foyer of the mansion, demanding to know how she could file a public dissolution of marriage at the absolute lowest point of his 25-year commercial career. The shouting inside the high-ceilinged room was so intense that it could be heard clearly by the security guards stationed at the front iron gates of the property. "You are leaving the king when the castle is under siege," T.I. yelled, his voice cracking with a volatile mixture of pure rage and profound emotional heartbreak. "You are not a king anymore, Cliff," Tiny calmly but coldly responded, her voice captured by internal home security microphones that have allegedly already been subpoenaed by legal teams for the upcoming trial. "You are just a desperate man burning down his own house, and I am taking my children out of the fire before we all turn to ash." By exactly noon, the physical manifestation of the split became undeniable as two massive, unmarked moving trucks were spotted backing up to the side entrance of the estate. A team of movers began systematically loading up Tiny's personal belongings, historical memorabilia, and high-value wardrobe assets under the watchful eye of a heavily armed private security detail she had personally hired to ensure her safety during the exit. T.I. reportedly watched from the upper balcony of the Grand Library in complete silence as the trucks pulled down the long driveway, leaving the estate entirely fractured. The first major twist had officially landed, proving that the Grand Hustle dynasty was completely bankrupted both emotionally and financially. But as the digital world was about to find out, the nightmare was only getting started, and the next revelation would push the family into an absolute point of no return. The moment those moving trucks pulled away and the initial courthouse shockwaves settled, the structural integrity of the entire hip-hop industry dissolved as the focus shifted entirely to the viral aftermath of the BET Awards red carpet confrontation. Social media platforms instantly transformed into a gladiator arena of absolute chaos as millions of viewers began frantically downloading the leaked genetic PDF file. The internet did not just talk about the scandal, it completely weaponized the data. Within 3 hours of the initial leak, the controversy reached a terrifying level of escalation as prominent digital creators and cyber investigators began running the unredacted genetic markers through open-source ancestral databases. If you think a simple paternity exclusion was the end of the story, you are completely missing the terrifying depth of this conspiracy. The crowdsourced digital investigation did not lead to an anonymous street figure or a random ghost from the past. The maternal and paternal genetic sequences listed in the document matched directly to a multi-platinum, legendary Atlanta music producer who is T.I.'s former co-founder, closest business partner, and absolute best friend during the golden years of building the Grand Hustle empire. Can you even begin to comprehend the absolute psychological horror of this realization? This means that for over 20 years, the King of the South was unknowingly raising the biological child of the very brother who sat next to him in the studio while they were writing the anthems that built their multi-million-dollar kingdom. The digital landscape completely fractured as viral threads and leaked celebrity reactions began flooding the timeline. Prominent rap blogs posted screenshots of major artists expressing absolute, unedited shock, with one verified industry insider posting that the entire city of Atlanta is currently on an emergency lockdown because the implications of this bloodline betrayal run deeper than the music itself. Every single past episode of their reality television show was suddenly pulled apart frame by frantic fans, pointing out the exact moments where the physical resemblance to the legendary producer was staring the entire world right in the face. As the controversy spread like wildfire, the corporate and institutional backlash struck with absolute, merciless brutality. Financial trustees managing the extensive Grand Hustle family estate executed an immediate, high-level emergency freeze on all corporate lines of credit, luxury asset accounts, and trust funds assigned to King Harris. Because the legal bylaws of the family trust explicitly state that disbursement is strictly restricted to direct biological descendants, the leaked 0.0% probability report gave the corporate boards the immediate legal green light to strip King of his entire inheritance overnight. The young artist who had walked onto the BET Awards stage as a wealthy heir to a Southern rap dynasty woke up to find his black corporate cards deactivated, his luxury sports cars flagged for immediate repossession, and his entire financial identity completely liquidated by his father's legal team. The escalation took a highly dangerous turn when an internal leak from a prominent entertainment law firm published a series of late-night text messages sent directly from T.I.'s private number. The messages revealed a man completely broken by the weight of an absolute deception, stating that the entire empire was built on a monumental lie and that everyone involved was dead to him. But the drama did not stop at text messages. King Harris completely vanished from his luxury Atlanta residence, with inside sources leaking to the press that he had barricaded himself inside an undisclosed recording studio with his own legal counsel and a team of independent digital distributors. The streets are currently reporting that King is preparing to unleash a massive, highly destructive counterleak designed to permanently incinerate whatever is left of T.I.'s public legacy. The public is trapped in an agonizing state of suspense as real-time economic destruction consumes the family line. What happens to a hip-hop king when he realizes his entire lineage was a calculated corporate fiction? The answers are about to get infinitely darker because an unverified broadcast notification hints that King is sitting on a secondary sealed medical envelope that threatens to expose another sibling under that very same roof, setting up a cliffhanger that could completely wipe the Harris name from the history of music forever. The global entertainment space has officially transformed into a literal war zone of ideological commentary. The complete shattering of the Harris dynasty has forced every single major voice in the hip-hop culture to step forward, completely dividing the industry between those who view T.I. as a tragic, fallen hero and those who see him as the ultimate architect of his own self-destruction. The internet didn't just react. It completely exploded into an unyielding firestorm of opinions, divisions, and deep-seated industry panic. Fans across the globe are frantically pausing and rewatching the 2026 BET Awards performance footage, trying to spot the exact second the backstage rage began to spill over into their coordinated family appearance. During an emergency morning episode of his top-rated podcast, Joe Budden literally slammed his headphones onto the floor, screaming into his microphone about the total collapse of the Southern rap matrix. "I told you guys last week," Budden thundered, his voice shaking with intense excitement. "This is exactly how the system operates. When a legendary brother tries to step completely outside the corporate distribution wheelhouses and claim absolute independence, the pressure doesn't just hit the studio, it destroys the home." T.I. tried to carry the weight of an entire independent empire on his back, and his family became the ultimate collateral damage. Finding out that the kid you defended for 20 years through Waffle House brawls and public meltdowns isn't yours is a different level of psychological execution. The king has no castle left to defend. Simultaneously, prominent cultural commentators released intense video analyses from their headquarters, framing the divorce and paternity scandal as a classic, devastating example of systemic psychological warfare targeting successful families. They claimed the corporate power structures hate to see a strong, unified family structure controlling millions of dollars of independent intellectual property. So what do? They create artificial financial blockades, they deploy paid media gatekeepers to create absolute chaos, and they wait for the stress to completely fracture the sacred bond between a man and his wife. They're calling on the community to immediately pause this public legal action, arguing that the community shouldn't allow the corporate media vultures to celebrate the destruction of a legacy household on the global public square. Predictably, T.I.'s most relentless digital adversary, 50 Cent, immediately recognized the absolute goldmine of industry drama and launched a vicious, multi-post cyber attack on his official page. He uploaded a photoshopped image showing the legendary Atlanta producer standing at the head of the family table, while T.I. was depicted as a broke street performer holding a cardboard sign. "Oh man," the caption read, "the queen took the kids, the trucks, and the remaining bank accounts. I told you, Cliff. You can't use the lady's cosmetic money to pay off them debts. Shorty don't even look like you. Somebody check on King Harris. He might start another war." The comment section under the post immediately became a digital war zone, with millions of users fiercely arguing whether the trolling was pure comedic gold or a disgusting betrayal of solidarity during a critical industry crisis. Across major international internet forums and urban blogs, the public is completely locked in a massive state of total division between hashtag Team T.I. and hashtag Team King. On one side, fans are shouting that T.I. did exactly what a responsible father had to do before finding out the devastating truth. You cannot sit quietly and watch a kid ruin your legacy when he doesn't even carry your bloodline. On the other side, die-hard loyalists argue that King is the ultimate victim, publicly humiliated with a leaked DNA report because of his parents' private warfare. The economic impact of this public fracture. is completely paralyzing the Atlanta music industry. Major luxury brands and regional corporate entities have officially pulled their high six-figure sponsorship deals from the upcoming Grand Hustle promotional tour. The financial empire that took a quarter of a century to build is actively turning to absolute dust on the global stage, and a leaked internal network memo hints that a high-level corporate freeze is about to hit every single asset tied to the family name, fueling rumors that the absolute point of no return has already been crossed. Just when the global collective audience believed the absolute peak of this historic ancestral nightmare had been reached, the narrative didn't just twist, it experienced a total, catastrophic inversion that has left the entire music industry completely paralyzed. At exactly 2:15 a.m., King Harris's dark social media account suddenly flashed alive with a singular, high-definition video broadcast streamed from a heavily secured, undisclosed location in downtown Atlanta. He did not come to apologize, he did not come to weep, and he did not come to beg for his frozen inheritance back. Instead, he came to execute the final, absolute demolition of the entire T.I. mythos. Holding a pristine, certified copy of a completely separate legal document stamped by the Georgia Department of Vital Statistics, King Harris dropped the final, mind-bending bombshell of this entire saga. T.I. did not discover that King wasn't his biological son 2 weeks ago through a sudden legal leak. The jaw-dropping truth is that the King of the South has known the absolute reality since exactly 2008. The realization is absolutely terrifying and completely flips the script on who the real villain of this family tragedy actually is. According to King's explosive live statement, T.I. originally discovered the biological mismatch during the mandatory genetic and medical screenings required by his high-profile federal weapons conspiracy case back in 2008. But instead of exposing the truth to the world or divorcing Tiny back then, T.I. and his elite team of corporate accountants allegedly cut a private, ironclad deal behind closed doors to hide the medical records permanently. Why would a man hide such a devastating betrayal? Because the wholesome brand image of the family hustle reality television empire was worth tens of millions of dollars in national syndication revenue. T.I. allegedly utilized King's non-biological status to establish complex corporate tax shelters and child performer trust structures that actively shielded millions of dollars of independent Grand Hustle touring revenue from federal asset forfeiture and tax collectors. The young artist looked directly into the camera lens during the broadcast, his eyes completely cold, unblinking, and entirely devoid of any remaining family loyalty. "You didn't run that DNA test to find the truth, Cliff," King whispered with a chilling, confident smile. "You leaked that document yourself because our legacy reality TV syndication contracts officially expired last month, and you desperately needed a perfect legal excuse to completely liquidate my trust fund to cover up your secret Dubai cryptocurrency debts. You used me as a fraudulent promotional prop for 20 years when it made you rich, and now you throw me to the internet wolves when your kingdom goes completely broke." The public narrative has been completely turned on its head. T.I. is no longer being viewed as the betrayed father, but as a calculating corporate mastermind who weaponized a family secret for pure financial survival. But the ultimate cliffhanger, the one that has sent absolute panic through the legal departments of every major television network and music streaming platform, came in the final 10 seconds of King's broadcast. The young rapper reached into a black leather folder, pulled out a secondary, completely sealed medical envelope, and held it directly up to the lens for the entire world to see. "You think I'm the only one in that house that doesn't carry your blood, Cliff?" King laughed, his voice echoing with pure defiance. "This second envelope right here contains the genetic sequencing results for another sibling under your roof. And when I hit the upload button tomorrow night, the world is going to find out that your entire royal lineage is nothing but an absolute corporate fiction." The broadcast instantly cut to dead black, leaving a completely stunned global audience suspended over an absolute abyss of unresolved suspense. The countdown to the ultimate family execution has officially begun, and nobody in the hip-hop industry is safe from the incoming blast radius. T.I. is currently locked in his studio with absolute silence coming from his camp, completely aware that the ticking clock is running out. Did T.I. really use King as a corporate tax shield for 20 years? Or is King dropping the ultimate lie to destroy his father's remaining legacy? And which sibling is hiding inside that second terrifying medical envelope? Drop your absolute thoughts in the comments below right now because the corporate lawyers are trying to wipe this video fast. To get the exclusive breakdown, the exact second King hits that upload button tomorrow night. Smash that subscribe button, hit the like button, and turn on all notifications immediately. Stay alert and do not look away.